Hello, everybody. You are on the Code on Puffic channel. From today we would like to observe some cybersecurity topics, like evil attacks and reliable protection against them. We would like to start with one of the most common cyber attacks, denial of service, DDoS. Before we start, please, give a like to this episode so more people can see it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episodes. Let's go. What is DDoS attack? In computing, a denial of service attack, DDoS attack, is a cyber attack in which the perpetrator seeks to make a machine or network resource unavailable to its intended users by temporarily or indefinitely disrupting services of a host connected to a network. Sometimes we can hear from community another name, lock the service. Denial of service is typically accomplished by flooding the targeted machine or resource with superfluous requests in an attempt to overload systems, and prevent some or all legitimate requests from being fulfilled. In a distributed denial of service attack, DDoS attack, the incoming traffic flooding the victim originates from many different sources. More sophisticated strategies are required to mitigate this type of attack, as simply attempting to block a single source is insufficient because there are multiple sources. A DOS or DDoS attack is analogous to a group of people crowding the entry door of a shop, making it hard for legitimate customers to enter, thus disrupting trade. Criminal perpetrators of DOS attacks often target sites or services hosted on high-profile web servers such as banks or credit card payment gateways. Revenge, blackmail and hacktivism can motivate these attacks. Any devices that connect to the internet and can send requests can participate in the attack: smartphones, smartwatches, household appliances, hosting servers. But it is difficult to find and organize 1,000 people willing to carry out an attack. It's much easier to turn ordinary people's computers into zombies and control them from afar. This is usually done with the help of viruses. Such viruses do not require anything from the user and do not reveal themselves, so the owner of the device may not even suspect that he is participating in the attack. They can be embedded in a Windows activation program, a pirated copy of a game or program from torrents, an unofficial smartphone firmware. History of DOS attack. Panix, the third oldest ISP in the world, was the target of what is thought to be the first DOS attack. On September 6, 1996, Panix was subject to a SYN flood attack, which brought down its services for several days while hardware vendors, notably Cisco, figured out a proper defense. A SYN flood is a form of denial of service attack in which an attacker rapidly initiates a connection to a server without finalizing the connection. The server has to spend resources waiting for half-opened connections, which can consume enough resources to make the system unresponsive to legitimate traffic. Another early demonstration of the DOS attack was made by Concy Smith in 1997 during a DEF CON event, disrupting internet access to the Las Vegas Strip for over an hour. The release of sample code during the event led to the online attack of Sprint, Earthlink, E-Trade and other major corporations in the year to follow. In September 2017, Google Cloud experienced an attack with a peak volume of 2.54 terabits per second. On March 5, 2018, an unnamed customer of the US-based service provider Arbor Networks fell victim to the largest DDoS to that date, reaching a peak of about 1.7 terabits per second. The previous record had been set a few days earlier, on March 1, 2018, when GitHub was hit by an attack of 1.35 terabits per second. In February 2020, Amazon Web Services experienced an attack with a peak volume of 2.3 terabits per second. In July 2021, CDN provider Cloudflare boasted of protecting its client from a DDoS attack from a global Mirai botnet that was up to 17.2 million requests per second. In February 2023, Cloudflare claimed to have faced a 71 million requests per second attack targeted at multiple customers, the highest on record. Categories of DDoS. DDoS attacks are divided into the following categories. Bulk attack, during which an attacker floods the network layer with what at first appears to be normal traffic. This is the most common form of DDoS attack. An example of such an attack can be DNS amplification, when through open DNS servers, the target object is flooded with traffic from responses to DNS queries. An attack at the protocol level leads to the interruption of the service, using vulnerabilities at levels 3 and 4. An example of such an attack is a SYN attack, which uses all available server resources, making the server unavailable. A resource, application level, attack targets web applications and disrupts data transmission between hosts. These attacks include HTTP violations, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and other Layer 7 attacks. Types of DDoS. Also, conventionally, DDoS attacks are divided into two types: attacks on the network and software part of the server. During a network attack, an attacker tries to overload the server's communication channel. The communication channel corresponds to the amount of data that the server is able to receive. When there is too much data, the server does not have time to process it and the site stops opening for visitors. Suppose a server channel can accept 1 GB of traffic or 10,000 users simultaneously. The attacker's task is to overcome this barrier and do it as long as possible so that real users cannot break into the site. During an attack on the software part, the attacker tries to exhaust some of the server's resources, processor power, RAM, the allowable number of processes or connections to the database. When one of the resources runs out, the server starts to slow down or freeze. The server uses some of the resources every time a visitor performs an action on the site. For example, when a visitor enters their account login details, the server checks them and sends back the next page or displays an error. Different requests require different amounts of resources to answer. The attacker's task is to find the request on which the server spends the most resources, and then throw it at them until it shuts down. Detecting and responding to DDoS attacks. It is currently impossible to detect a DDoS attack, but there are a few telltale signs that your network is at risk. You see a surge of web traffic seemingly out of nowhere coming from the same IP address or address range. The quality of the network is low or it works with interruptions. Your website, online store or other service is offline. Modern software solutions can help identify potential threats. A network security and monitoring service can alert you to system changes so you can respond quickly. You will also receive a DDoS attack action plan with clearly defined roles and procedures. This will enable your team to quickly take effective action when threats emerge. DDoS attacks are different, so you need different protocols to respond to them. Prevention of DDoS attacks. You need to know what to do about a cyber threat before it happens. Preparedness is an integral part of timely detection and remediation of attacks. You need develop a denial of service defense strategy to detect, prevent, and mitigate DDoS attacks. Identify gaps in the security system and assess potential threats. Update the software or security solution and make sure it works properly. Distribute roles among team members in the event of an attack. It's important to make an effort with products, processes and services that help protect your business. That way, when you detect a threat, your team will be ready to counter it. Protection against DDoS attacks. Protect your network from potential attacks. To protect your business, regularly analyze risks to understand which areas need protection from threats. Create a response service for DDoS attacks, which will focus on their detection and elimination. Integrate tools to detect attacks and prevent them during online operations and tell users what to pay attention to. Evaluate the effectiveness of your protection strategy through training processes and determine the next steps. There are various forms of protection against DDoS attacks, from online resources to software for tracking threats and means of detecting them. That is all main information about DDoS attack. Take care of your servers. Thank you for watching. Please, give a like for support this channel. Write comments, share with friends, and subscribe to see new series. Be safe. Bye.